Buongiorno a tutti. Hello everybody. Croeso I podcast Rhif 30. You know, so
welcome to a Rosetta Stone podcast right now.
Threw in some Italian there because I've been learning Italian.
Have you really? Properly got a book or an app?
Got an app. No. And it's so good. So good to learn a new language.
It's a very pleasant language, Italian, I think.
Yeah.
Well, Welsh, not so much.
Well,
it's a bit harder.
There's a lot of
yeah.
stuff. But it was my first language. Anyway, welcome to the podcast, everybody. I've just been away, got back from Italy. That's why I've thrown in some welcome to all you Italian viewers. I'm not sure there will be many of you there,
viewership,
as well as the Welsh viewers, as well as the English viewers. So we are back after a bit of a break. Did you have a nice break, Henry?
I spent my time doing absolutely nothing. Nothing productive in the outside world. I played a lot of games, which was good. I beat God of War on New Game Plus and platinumed it. That final Valkyrie Queen can feck right off.
Nice.
She was tough as balls. Started a new playthrough on The Witcher 3. Bad idea because now my brain keeps thinking about The Witcher and I'm trying to play Control, which we'll talk about a bit later.
Yeah, I realised I haven't given proper introductions. So my name's Gareth Evans. This is Henry. I've done nothing also. I'm Cooper. And we are going to get to some gaming stuff as we have indicated. We're back. We've done 3 videos so far. This is the podcast. It'll be launching on Sunday for the general public. Early access to the patrons on Friday, hopefully. So what do we have today? We have some Control impressions, some further Control impressions from Henry, who's been playing it a lot. We have some more Cyberpunk stuff, some of the controversies and talking points that we missed out of the video this week. There was just too much for a single video. It was 50 minutes as it was. It would have been way too long. The video did pretty well. So we did want to touch on some of the other topics, which we will do so in this podcast because we haven't had a chance to, because we've been away.
Yep.
And then next, Nintendo Direct announced some stuff yesterday, which some of which is pretty exciting. So we'll go through that. Also, we have the Patreon questions, which have been amassing over the last couple of weeks. We have the triggered fanboy comment of the week. Ooh. And we have some more YouTube comments that we're going to read out for your listening and viewing pleasure. So, first up today, Control.
Tell you what's not in control. Fucking frame rate.
Yeah, it's way out of control.
Yeah, I mean... So we touched on it in our gameplay video this week, and the performance issues aren't something that really destroy a game for me, but you can't hide from them, and they are in abundance in Control on consoles. Let's make that very clear.
I think it's something that you tolerate if you're having fun, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and I am having a lot of fun.
If you're not having fun, it would be a different story, though.
Exactly. Right? Like, Days Gone had a bunch of performance problems, but I was really enjoying it, so I kind of got over it. I'm not turning a blind eye because I still know they're there and it's still, this should be better. But having fun means it's all worthwhile. But in terms of just having fun, it's the superpowers you get, like the Force essentially, because you can grab stuff. Pretty much any dynamic object in the world can be picked up with your mind and then flung across the room at people, or just destroyed. You can just smash stuff by dashing through it or doing your little palm blast thing. Mm-hmm. It's got really, really satisfying destruction. Not everything can be destroyed. It's like you can't blow through all the walls, but if there's glass, you can smash through it. If there's like a toilet cubicle, you can smash it. So it's really fun to just walk into a room with a bunch of guys and kind of like crack your knuckles, like, okay, let's get to business. Kill everyone, and then just look at what's left of the room after all the walls have been smashed in. Quite
a satisfying experience being able to have that much power, right?
Yeah, and the sound design is really interesting as well, because every time you pick something up, it kind of goes whoop, and like when you throw it, it does it like the opposite. It's really cool, kind of like R2-D2 if he was kind of on low power mode. Yeah, on drugs. That's what I was going to be clean. I was going to behave. So that's awesome. So you get this gun as well, which is fine. Like there's nothing particularly bad about it, but it's not very special. But when you put it with the powers, because the powers are on like a cooldown, it makes for some quite interesting gameplay moments. Because I'll like throw a box at someone, then shoot them with the like SMG mode of the gun, and then maybe grab their body just before they die, throw that at someone else, switch to the shotgun, blow their face open.
Nice.
So it's a good bit of comboing like that. It's not like there's a list of combos you have to learn or anything like that. But
but it's
putting things
free
together.
flowing, so you can do it yourself and kind of find out what the most satisfying personally combination of moves are.
And once you unlock the ability to levitate, it gets really even more fun as well, because that's one thing I was complaining about in the gameplay, and I unlocked it like later on that evening when I went home.
Okay.
So it's essentially like a double jump. You just press and hold X, you hop in the air, and she starts floating.
Yeah.
And you can upgrade it so you can last longer in the air. I mean, got to make sure we
make you last
longer, right? And that adds a whole new dynamic, because a lot of the other enemies, they can fly, and they're such a pain in the ass, because you try and throw stuff at them, they dodge it. You try and shoot them, it does nowhere near enough damage. But if you can get up in their face, it's way easier. You can just start nailing them with the shotgun.
Can you combo these movements as well? So you can levitate and then dash while you're in the air.
Pretty much anything you can do on the ground, you can do in the air.
Well, that's helpful.
Which is really nice. And it's really effortless. And it's not like she's difficult to control. She just kind of glides up.
She's easy to control,
floats.
you could say.
She is. Your frame rate's not. So all around, the visuals are obviously the thing most people look for straight away. And even on consoles, it does look really pretty when it's performing nicely. Like, it looks really nice. And I think part of the reason it slows down is because there's loads of particle effects. Like, when you kill people, it's only a 16 rate game. It's not an 18, so it's not very... It's violent, but it's not gory. So when you shoot them, there's this, like, mist stuff that comes out. And that's really interesting to look at, because it's not just like a smoke thing. It's kind of weird warbling of light. And then, like, anytime you smash up fire extinguisher or something, there's a huge explosion, and there's extinguisher stuff everywhere. So it looks really, really pretty.
Yeah, and I think it's better that game developers, especially now towards the end of this console generation, do focus on higher end graphics and visuals now, because in a year's time maybe they will port this game to the next console,
especially since it's done quite well,
and it's 5 years into the PS5, the base PS5 and Xbox One systems and hardware. It really is anchoring the developments these days, and for them to spend all that extra time to optimize for the base consoles, it doesn't feel like they should be looking forward, is what I'm saying. And it's hard to say, consoles are holding games back and that, but this is a primary example of how it is, right?
Yeah, and if we are only getting the next gen consoles next year, in a year's time, hypothetically, that's kind of the prediction. This game, it could have just waited a year.
Yeah,
like, I don't know what the release schedule is for this time next year.
It's just in a bad place. It's just released in a really bad place, and they've had to make a creative decision. Yeah, how do we optimize it for the base consoles? Leave out this smoke and all these effects or whatever, and so it doesn't look so good, or do we just do it how it's supposed to do and just take the hit on the frame rate? And they've made that decision, right? Yeah, and I can't really fault them for making that decision, because to delay it, to just wait for the next stuff to then come out, which may or may not even come out. Well, if it does come out next year, it's not going to be until like Christmas next year. So really, it's going to be more like 18 months until it comes out. Yeah, and that's 18 months of just upscaling. It's not like more writing or more programming or anything like that. So it's understandable, but it is a bit frustrating. But in terms of visuals, again, it's not just how pretty it looks in terms of like fidelity and facial animations. Although on that note, Jessie's face, the main character, her face is the only one that looks a bit weird. A bit weird.
And it might. So? Don't mean to sound rude, but it might be something to do with the actress and the way she, like her
portrays
mouth,
the character.
Yeah, I don't know what you call it. Mouth posture, oral posture. That's what I'm looking for.
What you're saying is the actress's oral posture's bad.
She's got ugly butt teeth.
That's a new one for me.
Well, there's something about it. It's like almost like she's got a slack jaw, but it's only on the main character.
She's a slack-jawed.
You slack-jawed idiot.
Wow.
But I don't know if that is the case, but it's something I have observed with everyone else.
It's funny, so it's worth talking about.
I mean, but everything looks cool. Like, that's just the best way to describe it. Like Inception, as I mentioned in the video, everything kind of folds together. Or like Doctor Strange, when all the buildings are like rolling, everything fits nicely. It's like when you open a pop-up pop-up picture book, and it springs out and then naturally just falls together really nicely.
It's aesthetically pleasing, right?
Yeah, sure. In terms of style and everything, it's just full of really cool concepts altogether. Like, so you get these things called objects of power, which are just ordinary everyday objects. Like, they could just be anything. So there's one which is just a rubber duck, like a bathroom rubber duck, and it does a bunch of weird shit. So they've collected it, and now they're studying it, and you can find like an audio log of them being, okay, we're now going to do a heat test with article 0011 whatever, codename rubber duck, or hit it with a Bunsen burner, nothing happens. Okay, now we're going to try and electrocute it, nothing happens. Further study needed, because it's all very scientific and official, which is really cool.
That's cool.
But one thing I thought was really cool but not done to its full potential is the Ocean View motel thing. So that, I don't know if you saw in the thing, it's when you pull the light switch and you do it, I think 3 times, then you go to this other place.
Yes.
And I think stuff like that is perfect for video games as a medium more than, say, films, because it obviously puts you in control. So if you do it, that they can then strip out the world and put a new one in instantly.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's going to be a bit of processing power and actually building that, but I think that's really fun thing, abstract thing to do in games that not enough do, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a shame that every time I've been to the Ocean View Hotel, it's been basically the same, and it's been the same sort of puzzle. It's like, okay, I need to unlock this door, so I need to find the key, and to find the key, I've got to open these doors with a little bell on the counter, and then I do it, and then it's done. There's nothing particularly interesting going on there that I've seen so far, because I'm about 8 to 10 hours in.
Sure.
In terms of enemy designs and enemy types, there's some just boring ones, like guys running around with guns trying to kill you. The ones with rocket launchers can do one because they are really annoying, because the rockets just come out of nowhere because you're busy smashing someone's face in, particle effects everywhere, then there you go, rocket launcher, half your health's gone. So that's a ball ache. But some are really, really interesting. There's some which are like, they're people strapped into these chairs and they're just floating around. Imagine like the Emperor in Star Wars in his chair, but just floating with a bunch of weird debris around him that he then throws at you. They're really powerful as well, so they can creep up on you. So there's just kind of odd goings on with some of the enemies, which is quite cool. But because it's a Metroidvania, there's a little bit of backtracking, but not as bad as in some games, I find. But it's not... When you come across a new area, I didn't feel like it was really excited to come back there. Like in other games where it's, okay, you need this specific item to get in there. And like, oh, what am I going to find in there? Here it was more, it's just key cards or like security clearance to get into other areas, and you go there and you'll find like some collectibles or something. Yeah.
Do you unlock, you can levitate or fly around now. Yeah. You can unlock areas now you can fly up and...
Yeah, but there was nothing particularly worth it in there, you know? So I'd fly in, like, oh, okay, new area. It's just like a better upgrade for my gun. So I feel like...
So it wasn't
it wasn't like I had to go there. But there are some areas which you can go to which are kind of side quests like that, without trying to spoil it. There was one where I had to go beneath like the area I was in. I was like, well, I have no idea how to get there, but there's a great big dark hole here that there's no way I can survive the fall. So I hopped down and then started flying just before I hit the bottom, so I survived. Whole new area, and like a secret, not necessarily secret, but optional boss fight in there. And I've come across, that's the second of these big boss fights, which are strange, almost Lovecraftian monsters going on in there.
Right.
And I found 2 of them. I can't speak if there are any more. The first one, Jesus, that was like out of nowhere hard, like difficulty spike. Not necessarily because the gameplay was hard, but just anytime it hit you, it's basically game over, one hit kill. Right. And it smashes the floor up, and I kept falling through it, and I'd only just got the ability to levitate, so I wasn't quite used to doing it yet. But they were really cool. They were hard though.
Like a change of pace.
Yeah, so that was a nice surprise in these extra areas due to it being Metroidvania. But other than that, it's just, here's an extra bit of XP type thing.
Okay. I noticed in your notes here that covers pretty much everything of the good, and you've got a list of the bad stuff now.
So it's always easier to talk about bad stuff because
we're
it's easier
British.
to pick things.
We're British, and I think that's a British trait. I think it's part of like complaining about the weather every single day. It's like we like complaining about the bad stuff. So tell us about the bad.
I mean, there is a lot I liked, obviously, but I feel like I've got more words to describe the bad.
Your vocabulary is bigger when it comes to criticising.
But it's a single-player story-driven game. And the story, the way it's told, is a lot of it is through collectibles and like research files and audio tapes and whatnot that you can find in the world. But there's so many. There's loads, and that would be a great thing for some people.
Yeah, isn't that a take it or leave it thing? Isn't that a personal preference thing? It's like a creative decision, it's something that doesn't quite sit well with you, but it could really appeal to other people.
Totally, because if I find, I'll collect every collectible, but because there's so many that you have to like read through, and they're all written in a very like official Federal Bureau of Control way, and a lot of them are redacted. They've got big black chunks missing because it's like the FBI. Yeah. They're concealing information. I read through the first maybe 10, and then after that, I just couldn't be asked reading all of them. If it had an interesting title or to do with something I could recognize, like a certain artifact, I'd be like, okay, let's have a look.
Do you feel like you're missing much by not reading the rest of them?
Sometimes, but a lot of it is just fun little side stories rather than the actual story, and those are the ones I kind of miss. Yeah. Because there was one which was about a book club within the company employees, just like a little hobby thing. And there was a memo that said, okay, everyone in the book club, we're going to read this book. It's like some sci-fi thing. And then you could find other people's reviews of that book in the world. I have no idea if it's a real book or anything like that. But it's some guy being like, oh, it's a bit of young adult fiction, which I don't really get because I'm not, 15. But this bit was kind of cool, I suppose. But it's just, So little things like that I really enjoyed. But a lot of the actual story is fairly minimal.
I used to think that this type of environmental storytelling was lazy storytelling. That's the way I used to. I mean, if you're telling the story of a game while you're playing it is the best way for me to get engrossed in the game, right? The story happens as you're playing, not you're recounting or you're looking at someone else's story which happened in the past. Because that to me is you just write the story and then you make the game based on that story that happened in the past. If you don't feel like you're living through the story as it happens, like you're taking the twists and the turns with your own character, I feel like it's a little bit lazy. But I mean, this way appeals to a lot of people. And when it comes to games like this in the past, I've played Horizon Zero Dawn is one that sticks to my recent memory, where there is environmental storytelling. There's tapes that you play and you listen to, and I've got a certain amount of patience for that, especially when it's like a newfound world kind of type of thing, and a lot of the stuff has gone down before you, and you get there. But coming to the end of the game, and you're listening to one audio tape, and you get to the next room, and you still listen to the previous audio tape, and you've got another, and you're queuing these, and you're like, I just want to get to the final boss because I've been playing this game for I don't know. It feels a little bit forced sometimes for me, and I'm like you. I prefer a game to tell the story that I'm playing rather than just a found world kind of environmental story playing type of thing.
I'm not sure I'd say it was lazy because there is a lot of detail.
I used to feel like that. I don't think that anymore. Obviously it's a creative choice.
Yeah, and a lot of them are these extra stories or about certain other artifacts that you won't even encounter, or places, because you're from this town and a bad thing happened there called an altered world event, and that's why your personal story. But there's all these other ones that have happened across the world, and it's there's this place where this thing happened, here's what was involved, here's what the object of power is, here's what it can do. Doesn't mean anything to your story, but it's just an extra thing. And I like stuff like that. That's really fun. But if you didn't bother with any of that and you just followed Jessie's story of arriving at this place, looking to find her brother, because that's the setup. There's not really much teeth to it. I don't think, because it's you show up to find him, you meet a couple of people. There's not a lot of conflict with any of them. You just say, "Oh, hello, I'm Jessie. I've become the director. Something weird's going on. Oh, okay. Let me help you. Here's everything you need. Go to this place. Okay, I'll go to that place, meet a new person.
Fight bosses on the baddies on the way.
Yeah, fight a few baddies. Okay, the mysterious force taking over the place is called the Hiss. You can kill it? Yeah, I can kill it. I'm the toughest cook in the kitchen. No one can beat me because I've got something special going on.
But isn't that just how action games should be, though? It's not supposed to be an RPG, right?
Yeah, it's not a super story-heavy game, but it's kind of not trying to be, because it is very, very mysterious, and that's part of the appeal for a lot of people. And I do like the mystery, but if it had a bit more of a crafted, curated narrative through line, I think I'd be a bit more invested in the actual story.
Do you ever watch the X-Files back in the day?
Bits and pieces.
It reminds me a bit of the X-Files.
It's a little bit like that because of all these weird stuff happening all over the place.
And it's like the FBI or FBC or whatever.
Trying to keep it under wraps. And what they tell the public is, it was a bursted water main, but in reality it was a giant alien from the fourth dimension or whatever. But when it comes to Jessie herself, and I said this in the video, I'm still not convinced that she's that interesting as a character, as a person, because she's got this extra force in her head, and I'll try not to tell you too much about that, which makes her, it's important to her, and kind of everyone's like, ooh, what's that, when they figure it out. And there are some interesting stuff, there are some interesting bits where you'll be thinking in your head, like the camera closes up on her face and she's just thinking, and she's like, I should really tell them about what's going on. And then when she actually says it, she doesn't. She beats around the bush. I like that as a director choice, to be able to hear her in a monologue and then have her do things slightly different, like kind of overthinking things. I like that a lot. But there's not much going on with her in terms of what she's doing. She doesn't really react to much. Yeah. She just kind of goes, oh, where's my brother? This is bad, but other than that, she's not that fussed. Yeah, she doesn't mumble to herself like maybe Deacon does in she thinks to herself. Geralt would, or she thinks to herself, but it's not anything like, she doesn't respond. It's just a bit generic, like, oh, what's this way? I can't believe I can't believe my brother's been gone this long type stuff. It's not there's something just not quite connecting there. But she does have, and I'm only just getting to it, a bit of a elusive, mysterious backstory going on. There's a couple revelations, but there's not quite a full revelation yet. I'm like just on the precipice of it. It's like, oh, something I've just found out about myself. Now she's discovering it, and that's why I'm getting, okay, maybe she's not as dull. I don't want to say dull, because dull, that sounds a bit harsh, but she's not as interesting as other modern characters. Like Aloy is my favorite like female protagonist of recent years, because she's just a badass. She ain't got no time for anyone's shit. If someone's like, I'm blah blah from this religion, she's like, no you're not, you stupid, help me get out of the way. Like the cynic. I mean, I can identify with that, that's for sure. And I've already been through the performance issues, but there's constant frame rate issues and stuttering. There's a lot of texture pop in when you're looking at pictures or text or posters or whatever. The map doesn't load a lot of the time when it's supposed to, and that doesn't stop the game. None of this stops the gameplay really, but you just got to persevere through it, and it's pretty annoying. It's stuff that you have to put up with that you probably shouldn't have to in this day and age. Like, it doesn't crash the game or anything. I can still keep doing it, but it's just, oh come on. I'm having a lot of fun here, smashing stuff up with my mind. I'm having a lot of fun. Taking the shine off it a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Load screens are pretty long. The loadout menu sometimes just doesn't respond. Like, you'll press it to change your guns and you can't do anything. So you got to switch. You got to leaf over to the next page, then come back. Yeah, bit of a nuisance. And this thing, I don't quite know how to put it into words, and it sounds wrong when I say this, but loot shooter-esque elements. And that's not like a constant grind for stuff, but pretty much after every fight, you'll end up with half a dozen new, not weapon upgrades, but weapon like buffs, like 10% extra critical hit damage, or a unique to your shotgun item which will tighten up the spread so it's more like a hand cannon as opposed to like a big double-barreled spread. But they're bloody everywhere, and I don't feel like that's progression in my opinion. It's not. A lot of people like the loot grind and getting new stuff, but that doesn't feel like I'm progressing, because it's just higher grade versions of the same thing, which don't feel like they make that much of a difference. It's not rewarding for you. Personally, anyway. Like it should be, because that's the point of those kind of incremental upgrades, is that they do feel rewarding and they're worth trying to earn. Doing the side quests or going to an extra area to try and earn that extra little bit of 10% this, 5% that. But if it's not rewarding for you, then it's... And one thing that is kind of annoying is you can't really grind for like character upgrades to like boost your health and boost your telekinetic abilities, which is that's what I want to do. Like to go and fight some of these tougher bosses, I'm like, okay, I've put loads of upgrade points into my telekinetic abilities, but not enough on my shield, because I normally just dash around, but these things have huge AoE attacks type things, so I need to be able to block them, but I can't, so I've just got to do the quests and the main missions, but I don't want to do them yet because I want to deal with this thing. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I want to be able to get upgrades, but not just by doing main quests. Like, you don't really get any.
You want to overpower yourself a bit.
Yeah, I want to prepare for a fight rather than just going in as ready as the game wants me to be.
Yeah. Well,
but there you go.
There you go. There's your bad. That's the end of your list of bad now, right?
Yeah. So yeah. All in all, I'm definitely a huge fan. I really am enjoying it. And it's my first Remedy game. I've never played a Remedy one before. I really liked the look of Alan Wake. Never got around to it. Quantum Break was a Xbox One exclusive, and I've been PlayStation. But yeah, it's my first one. Very impressed. I love the look. I love the style. I love how there's all these objects of power, and it's a weird sort of pseudo-scientific 70s undercover, almost espionage type thing.
Yeah. Well, the fact that it's being talked about as Game of the Year for some people, at the very least, says that they've done a good job.
They've done something right.
And they've got a lot of the elements correct. There's obviously criticism around performance, which they can patch in a later update. It's not irredeemable. It's not unfixable. It certainly can be fixed. So if that tells you anything, just the response and the ratings and Henry's impressions, then it's a stand-up game. It's one of the best games of this year so far, as a general consensus type of overview opinion. And that kind of concludes our discussion of Control for this podcast. Obviously, if you missed our video on the topic, or our gameplay video, go check that out. We posted that this week, where we just played a few levels and we talked about it and the reception and stuff like that. But that's it for now. Moving on, we're going to talk about some more cyberpunky stuff, which we didn't get a chance to cover previously. In case you are unaware of the happenings and it feels like some sort of forced controversy now. I mean, I don't know whether I've been away for a while, and it feels like everyone's looking for the littlest bit of controversies to try and...
I think it's because people are so hyped about it. Those who don't necessarily hate it, but they're not on the hype train, they'll grab any opportunity they can to bring everyone else down.
Before we'll go into the details of this in just a second, but it feels like I would not prefer Cyberpunk 2077 to be a lot less mainstream as it is right now, because what it's doing is attracting so much criticism from people who just aren't going to like it anyway, and they're just nitpicking, trying to generate this sort of controversy. And it's like, I'd rather it be an indie type of game. Just give it back to the people who are core fans, right? It's
like when the casuals, if you will, started watching shows like Game of Thrones. We were all here because we're nerds, we like fantasy, and then all the people who watch Love Island started watching it. I'm like, what? You got garbage opinions about shit you don't understand. Like, if you watch the show, you would know that what you're saying is factually incorrect type stuff.
There's like one comment that sums that up for me that I remember that I read maybe today. This just looks like a futuristic GTA. And I'm like, it's nothing like a Grand Theft Auto game. It's an RPG for a start, right?
Heavy RPG with like loads of not just character customization, because you can do that in GTA, but like upgrades and giving yourself giant arm spikes and stuff. Like,
I don't get it. It's just I don't know. Anyway, but let's talk about the actual controversies that have been happening since we since we last talked about it. Not since we last talked about it, because what was the controversy? It wasn't actually a controversy. It was just like the gameplay that they released.
Speculation that they maybe deliberately showed off low end stuff to set people's expectations a bit lower.
Yeah, but there were some other controversies. Firstly, first-person cutscenes are now the mainstay of the game. Previously, we've seen trailers and gameplay where there were third-person cutscenes.
Yes.
Some of them will still be there, apparently, but for the majority, they're going to be entirely in first person. The whole game is in first person. There was a controversy around when it was announced the whole game was in first person. A lot of people were upset. People prefer the third person perspective, and it's one of those issues where I'm feeling like this is a creative decision by a creative team who are making some form of art, right?
Yeah.
And to have to deal with people who have a preference for a certain style, that it's not a criticism of the game. It's just all it is an expression of preference. Like it's not, and you can't say Cyberpunk isn't going to be as good because it's not third person.
Yeah,
it's nonsense to me.
I generally prefer third person because I like being able to see my character and stuff. But then when it was announced as first person, I was like, oh, okay, like I'd rather it was third, but that's just me. Like whatever, I still think it looks awesome.
Yeah.
And I was surprised at the backlash because I always thought people loved first person stuff, well, mainly due to how popular games like Call of Duty and that are, like Call of Duty Battlefield and stuff like that. They're first person. No one ever decries
the action games, right? And this is an RPG.
So I think that says something about the core gamers, if you will.
I can totally understand people having the preference, right?
Yeah.
It's when they decide not to deal with those feelings of, okay, it's going to be first person, and then they decide to criticize people
and
because they're feeling bad about it. Yeah. That's the line. It's like you're totally entitled to have an opinion about it. Yeah. It's just like, just don't try and impose your will on the world. That's I don't know. I'm on my soapbox already, but the details are such. Previously, people were previously told that all gameplay will be in first person except vehicles to maximize immersion, but cutscenes will be in third. So this is the point, right? They're trying to maximize immersion, and the point. One of the things that stuck home about the first person cutscenes is that during a cutscene, what they want you to be able to do is be so immersed in the cutscene, first person, that you can pull your gun out and interrupt the cutscene and then engage the action straight away. They want the cutscenes to be interruptible and dynamic. And
seamless as well, because everyone tries to avoid the load screens thing. Well, not everyone, but it's quite a... If you can get through your game, make a game without visible load screens, that's quite an achievement. So if you can walk into a room after just wasting a bunch of guys, have a conversation with someone, that's a cutscene, no transition, and then it comes up, press whatever to shoot them.
I totally admire that ambition, because there's nothing more jarring, immersion-wise, when you're in a first-person game and then you get forced to do something. You're forced to look at a third-person cutscene. Like JRPGs do it all the freaking time. They're the worst, man, of the games that just rag you out of the I should use that term. They pull you completely out of the immersion. They smack you in the face with these cutscenes, and you were having a good time. You were having a good ride, but the fact that they've got the ambition to try and achieve this with the interruptible cutscenes in first person, I admire it, and it's a creative decision, whether you appreciate that or not. I think it's something that they should be allowed to and have the room to be able to try and achieve.
Yeah. And the thing is, someone will probably try and mod it to be third person anyway. Might not go well, because I think it might be Digital Foundry. They fiddled with, I think it was Doom, to make it visible in third person, and he's a pair of legs and then the gun kind of coming out of the weight. It was really weird.
So this followed an announcement this week by community lead on Twitter, Marcin Momot. Achieving full immersion in an FPP game is extremely important, and the decision made by the team to go 100% first person in a Cyberpunk game is something that will benefit it greatly from gameplay and storytelling perspectives. I get it. They're trying to do something artistic, and that's what he's trying to say, and people still criticize him. That said, players will still be able to see the characters in the inventory screen, during driving sequences, in mirrors, and very occasionally in some of the cutscenes. I don't get...
I think calling this a controversy is bananas. People
are upset because they can't see their own characters, because they've made a character creator in the game, and because they can't see their characters' arses as they're running around or whatever, they feel like it's a waste of time putting time into creating the character. If that's the case, just don't make a character. Just skip through the character.
Go through stuff. I love character creators, and I'm like, I would like to see him. I'd like to. Third person cutscenes sounded great, because I think what's the game? Deus Ex, first person gameplay, third person cutscenes, but when you're speaking to people in like the RPG kind of back and forth, I really like that. But they've made this decision for a reason, and part of it will probably be due to finances, because it's going to cost more to have to animate everything in third person and then work on camera angles and,
Maybe system resources
direct it.
as
Yeah,
well.
exactly. Whereas if you just shoot it in first person, you don't need to worry about what your legs are doing.
Yeah.
And your camera angle is whatever's in front of you.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe there's scope for them to add the third person perspective afterwards?
I think there might be.
Knowing CDPR, I wouldn't rule that out. And I think that
It'd be a hell of a lot of effort for them to do it, but I reckon they might.
They're known to support a game really well after launch. But I think it's a little bit out of character for them to say, this is the way we're doing it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right? For them not to be receptive, at least to the idea of adding it in post-launch, I feel it would be out of character. And I would highly expect them to even just to entertain that idea at the very least.
Yeah, even if it's just in cutscenes and not in gameplay, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, GTA managed to do the opposite and go from third to first.
Yeah.
So, and they'll have some of the coding already done for these third-person cutscenes. So they've got part of the work done at least, a template.
There you go. I mean, there is always hope for you guys if you are one of the ones who are disappointed by this. Oh my God. I'm pretty sure this is on. Apologies for this. This was on silent. Look, I've got Do Not Disturb on there. Look. Do I not? Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, but your wife doesn't care. She's going to come bulldozing in.
That just sums up my life, doesn't it? Like, I don't get a minute's peace.
The little card
no matter what.
on the handle. Yeah. Burst in. Handful of laundry. Put this away.
Anyway, not getting a moment of peace myself aside. That was that one controversy. So any other points that we haven't hit on that one? Obviously, we know how we think. You're totally entitled to not feel happy about them being first person only, and we're not saying that you're not entitled to that. But I just don't get the outrage. I don't get people demanding people. Just deal with your feelings, like right. Just deal with the disappointment. Like I feel like a lot of people just don't do that often enough, and they feel like they need an outlet and they need to kind of project their feelings onto the world. It's like, how dare you upset me?
Even if they're not that angry, it always sounds way more angry on Twitter and Reddit and stuff.
My opinion, don't get angry about that. So what was the next controversy?
So the next one, this one's great fun.
The non-troversy.
Yeah, right. They've removed gender from the game.
Really?
Which isn't what they've done, actually.
Actually, it's just the titles.
You've got
of the
person A and person B. One of them looks like a man, one of them looks like a woman.
Yeah.
All they've done is take away the label man and woman
from the choice
from the box.
Screen.
So the choices are still the same. You can still be a man. You can still
looking or
name
a
yourself
woman
as a man.
looking.
Yeah, and you can give your man a man voice and man traits, and your woman a woman voice and woman traits. Or you can splice it all together, be a man with a very slender figure, a big butt, long hair, and a girly voice, but he's still a man.
Can I hazard a guess that the quartering went hard on this one?
Yeah, absolutely right. That's what he did.
That's surprising. Wow. How dare the SJWs do this? Rah!
Yeah,
Summarising what the quartering said about this on the topic. That's just an assumption. I don't know. I've not seen his video. But it's the type of thing that people can get upset for when it really doesn't mean a lot. You can still be a man just because it doesn't say a man on it. Does it really make that much of a difference?
Yeah, they're being criticised for pandering, and I understand if you think they're pulling it as like a ultra liberal, ultra pro trans movement. I can sort of understand that, but this is just more options as a player, not just to be inclusive and for the LGBT communities or whatever. What? Giving you the ability to take your quote-unquote male character and then give them the female voice or whatever, that's an extra option. Yeah. It's more for you.
You can completely ignore that. And what difference does it make to you if you were going to ignore it anyway? It makes no difference.
I plan on playing as a man with a man's voice, probably with ridiculous hair.
I mean, I don't know. This is a work of fiction at the end of the day, and it's set in the future. Why can't your imaginations limited to this type? Why does it have to be in line with your own expectations for
it's
a
not
game
dictating you how you should live. It's not saying you should abolish your gender and identify as something ambiguous. It's not saying that. It's saying this is the future where people cut off their arms and replace them with guns and swords and whatnot. So gender is going to be so meaningless to them in this future because everything else changes.
Let's see what CD Projekt Red said about this. Senior concept artist Martha Jonkers said in an interview with Metro's Game Central, our character creation menu, for instance, compared to the last demo we now give you so many more options. For instance, you don't choose your gender anymore. You don't choose, I want to be a female or male character. You now choose a body type because we want you to feel free to create any character you want. So you choose your body type, and we have two voices. One that's male sounding, one that is female sounding. You can mix and match. You can just connect them any way you want. Not going to make any difference to me. I'm going to be the bloke, and I'm going to have a man voice. That is not going to change for me. And the fact that people who might want to change would people still be upset if you got to choose maybe a feline body, so you look like a cat, and you had like a pig voice or something? Or would they be that upset?
This
like
is
the same thing. Oh, I can't. You're taking my man label away from me. Like, I'm so upset about that. Like, this is a fictitious world. They can do whatever they want, right?
Some of the people complaining, and I genuinely think they cannot see the irony of what they're saying. Not loads of people, but a few people have been complaining. But I identify as a man in the real world, so I want to identify as a man, a male, a cisgendered, you know, or the correct chromosomes or whatever in the game, and that's not allowing me to do it. But I don't think they understand the irony of this is the problem people who identify as trans or non-binaries or whatever have with the binary systems. Like, you are now experiencing on the teeny scale what they feel. I mean, you can argue that they're in the minority. There's like 0.05%, whatever. That's the numbers they throw around. But that is what they've been arguing for years. And now you're saying the exact same thing because you haven't got it your way.
No. I mean, I wherever you stand politically on the transgender thing or whatever, there's so many people with different opinions, right? People saying that they shouldn't have done this in Cyberpunk are the ones forcing their political agenda on the creators. They're always saying keep politics out of games. They're forcing this agenda here. It's not CDPR are just adding options, in my opinion. For the ones who are saying that this is not right, that is your political opinion being thrust into this topic. Anyway, that is all I'm going to say on that. I mean, obviously, I've probably lit a lot of people's fuses by our opinions on this one, but that's what we think. You can't hide from that. If you don't like it, just deal with it.
This one story alone has populated my current favourite Twitter blog, which is Shitty Gamer Takes, and it's all just been stuff from this, people having stupid opinions. There are some valid criticisms, like you can say it's pandering. I do understand that, but there's so many bad takes. It's hilarious. But the most recent breaking news, which I think broke yesterday for us, so I think that was Wednesday, I think just as we were recording our original video. So there is a form of multiplayer now confirmed, and they had not teased, but kind of floated the idea that they would be doing multiplayer stuff in Cyberpunk ages ago. Yeah,
they got a grant from the Polish government to implement a seamless world, to build a multiplayer world. There was some sort of money granted to them by the government in order to build a multiplayer thing. It was a bit puzzling for me, the fact that they'd even dismiss, there was even conversation around whether it would be in or not, since they got loads, it was like something like 18 million zloty. I don't remember it was millions, right? Millions of zloty
from the government
to do this multiplayer world. And the fact that people are like, there's multiplayer in it, it's like, well, obviously there's going to be multiplayer, but they weren't talking about it because there was the original. Well, last year at E3 they weren't saying anything. We're not talking about multiplayer now. We're focusing on the single player, which is exactly what they should have been doing. But now they've confirmed it. So what do you want to read out the tweets?
So the tweet is, until now, the only thing we said about multi was that it was in R&D. As we're getting closer to launch, single-player Cyberpunk... to launch single-player Cyberpunk 2077 in April 2020, we'd like to confirm that multiplayer's in the works. If you feel like lending us your skills, apply. And then there's a URL. The plan for now is to deliver Cyberpunk 2077 in April, then follow up with DLCs free! ! Love that. And single player content, and once we're done, invite you for some multiplayer action. So, multiplayer, that's cool. Multiplayer's coming, but free DLC. And this is just the multiplayer is not going to be there at launch. It's going to come sometime afterwards.
This is prime CDPR marketing at its best. Multiplayer is a topic that might piss some people off because they just want the single player game. So before they say multiplayer, or in the same tweet as multiplayer, you got free DLC, you've got single player content coming, and then afterwards, after all that's done, we'll put the multiplayer. It's just like they're just perfect the way that they
here's the bit we know you're going to like. Then here at the end, there's the bit you're probably going to like anyway, but your instincts want to get you angry about it.
It reminds me of like the shit sandwich when you're insulting someone, right? You say something nice about them, and then you say the bad thing, and then you reiterate the nice thing at the end. Like that's the way to.
When you're trying to get your missus to do something, you're like, you know how much I love you.
Exactly.
I'm going to go buy this enormous TV, and we've got to get rid of the old one. There's no space in the flat, but I cooked for you last night.
Remember the good things. I like it. I just like the whole tactful approach. But why would this upset people? I don't know. I don't know why this would upset people, because it's coming post-launch.
It's going to be like Red Dead Online. So you got Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, to be honest. Awesome single player thing. Lots of work, dedication, craft, single, contained experience. Then the multiplayer is extra and free.
Yeah.
And optional.
Yeah, it shouldn't detract anything from the core experience, which is the single player campaign and DLC, and then there's single player content, which I'm assuming that just means the paid DLC.
Yeah.
Right, because it's much the same as The Witcher 3, you would expect. There was lots of free DLC with that, as well as huge expansions that were well worth the money, the price of admission. So you can probably expect exactly the same. That worked really well for them, and it's one of the reasons why it is, highly regarded as one of the best games ever made. And I think it would be stupid of them not to follow that same template with Cyberpunk 2077, that's for sure. So the multiplayer didn't arrive with The Witcher 3. So this is kind of new to them. But like I said, they have had lots of money injected by the government to implement this multiplayer. It would be silly of them to turn around and say, well, we've taken your money and no, we're not making a multiplayer. They're pretty much contractually obliged to this now. So it will be in at some point. I'm interested to see how they approach it because, like I said, it's not in The Witcher 3, right? No. They've not done this before. How, they're creative. They're very creative over our CDPR. How are they going to implement it? How are they going to do that? Are they going to have like groups of wandering around the world? Are they going to have a seamless? Or are they going to have a separate like Red Dead Online type of thing? It's going to be interesting how they implement it because there's so many different ways to do it.
I wonder if there'll be any kind of extra monetization. Because microtransactions are generally more accepted, especially if it's like cosmetic only or anything. But CDPR have generally been totally against the whole thing. But in the multiplayer world, the perspective is a little bit different. So I wonder if they have anything.
How dare you suggest?
I mean, I don't think they will.
They lead greed to others, Henry.
They greed leaves.
Leave greed to others.
But my hope
suggest
and expectation is that they're going to have some really excellent like loot box digs. Like you can buy an item called a loot box, but there's absolutely like nothing in it or something. Yeah. No, or just like a twig.
I can 100% guarantee, if I'm a good judge of character, I would say that there's going to be no extra monetization in the multiplayer section outside of the huge expansions and single player content. I don't believe for 1 second that this is who CDPR are and what they're going to do with Cyberpunk 2077. But that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, could be wrong.
But that's, I'd stake, I'd put a lot of money on that. So that's our trifecta of non-troversies with the Cyberpunk stuff. And I'm sure we'll have another bunch. That's just in like a week and a half.
They'll breathe and someone else will get upset about something. On one side of the political spectrum, the conservatives or the liberals will get upset.
I don't know. There we go. Anyway, so that rounds off our Cyberpunk discussion. We are almost an hour into this. Well, 40, 50 minutes. So we're cruising, but we're not even halfway through. We've got Nintendo Direct stuff to discuss now. And what I'll do is I'll read out what happened in the Nintendo Direct stuff. If there's anything that you want to chime in about, interrupt me. Okay, because otherwise I'm just going to fly through this because, like I said, we're getting on a little bit. So Nintendo Direct happened yesterday, which was September the 4th for us. And as usual with the Nintendo Direct stuff, it was 40 minutes long and they just dumped a whole load of announcements.
Games.
It was awesome. I love these Nintendo Direct things. And
many of which are available right now.
Exactly. That's the most exciting part for me, and I've said it before. So the first thing was Overwatch, and that's coming to the Switch on October the 15th for $40 with special skins and a 3-month Nintendo Switch Online Pass, which is great for fans.
Yeah, I mean, Overwatch, realistically, I'm never going to play it because it's been out for so long and everyone's so good at it, and I'm not very good at online multiplayer anyway. But I always want to give it a try.
Well, this might be the best place if all those 5-year-old kids with Switches in their hands
maybe I could win.
You might have a chance now, Henry. But the fact that it's 40 quid, when you've got games like Warframe for free, Fortnite for free, there's loads of free games on the Switch now. They're asking 40 quid for it. They are throwing in a 3-month Nintendo Switch Online Pass. And special skins, whatever that means to you. But for me, surely, in this day and age, I don't know.
Full price for an old game downscaled for a new platform. Yeah, it's 40 quid.
I probably wouldn't pay 40 for it. I might pay a tenner. $10. I'd play it if it was free. I've never played Overwatch, but I play it was free. Anyway, after that, they announced that classic SNES classic SNES games are coming to Switch Online, and it's going to be called the SNES Switch Collection, and they will be arriving today as of filming, September the 5th, and they will all be absolutely free if you are an Nintendo Online subscriber. So if you subscribe to the online package, you get all these games for free as part of the price.
Retro Game Pass type deal.
Great value, right? Yeah. Out of nowhere, right? Yeah. Right, so the games include Super Mario Kart. Get in there, man. That's just the best, one of the best games ever. Kirby's Dream House, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, F-Zero.
Yes.
Another classic. Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. You can play it right now if you've got... I just can't believe this, man. Super Mario World, Star Fox. Just give it me.
Yeah.
Stunt Race FX, Super Metroid.
Yes.
Kirby's Dream Land 3, Pilot Wings, Super Soccer, Super Tennis, Brawl Brothers, Demon's Crest, Joe and Mac 2 Lost in the Tropics, Super EDF Earth Defense Force, Super Pio 2, however you say it, Breath of Fire, Super Ghosts and Ghouls, and that tops off the list. A special $30 wireless version of the SNES Classic controller was also announced. So if you want that authentic classic SNES thing, you can play that now. You can Bluetooth it to your Switch and you're away. I mean, that's exciting in itself. If they just add in all these extra old games, retro games, it's great.
I've been thinking of cancelling my Switch Online because I don't really use it. But with all of these coming, if they all come at once and they're all free, I'll probably just keep it for a bit.
Yeah, I know some of them are releasing today and some of them are coming in the future. I'm not sure how many the list are that I didn't clarify, but it's great, right? Super Mario Kart.
Yeah,
I'm jumping on that when I go.
Classic Mario Kart, the orig.
So next up, Terry Bogard joined Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So he's joining the roster in November. You'll be able to buy him for $6. Now, from talking about something that was awesome that they've done to something which is like, come on, really? Or get him. You can buy him for $6. Or get him and all the DLC fighters part of the $24 or $25 Fighters Pass. Is this really a fucking thing?
It's weird.
Is this what they're doing now, selling these fighters individually? I know I shouldn't be surprised because this is the way that they can make money. This is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, right? And I know they've got loads of characters to play.
Yeah, you have like 70 before you start.
The fact that they're charging $6 for one character to play or $25 for a Fighters Battle Pass. I know they have to make money on post-load content, but come on, this is Nintendo. Don't they have enough money? Can't they just support this for free?
See, the thing is because it's Nintendo and they're normally quite friendly and they're only just coming into the nasty monetization stuff over the past few years, especially with their move to mobile. But My big problem with the Fighter Pass is that you don't know who's in it, and you can buy all of it, right? It's like a season pass. It's the same thing. And I think there's 4. He'll be the 4th character. But you don't really know what you're getting yet.
I don't know. I guess it's only optional, guys. Don't criticize Nintendo.
I don't hate
Still, they're asking for money, man. Come on. We're allowed to criticize if you're asking for money for something that you've already paid for the core. I don't know. I'm just an old school gamer, and I'm just used to stuff. I'm just used to getting all the stuff. Like this would be like a cheat code back in the day. It was like down, up, left, right, up, down, A, B, C, and then I've unlocked Terry bloody Bogard, whoever he is. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not super mad about it because none of them are characters I particularly care about.
Yeah.
If they put in someone I was like of a franchise like I'm into, then I would probably think differently, but I'm not that fussed.
Banjo and Kazooie are available today, or as of yesterday as well, so you're not interested in them either.
I just don't care.
Okay.
I've never cared about Banjo and Kazooie.
Okay, let's move on. Indie ports now was the next kind of highlight, I guess. Return of the Obra Dinn is, if you've not heard of it, one of the best games of last year, yeah.
Everyone loved it.
Yeah.
But I've not played it.
An indie game. It's coming in Q4 2019 to the Switch. Developed by 3909 LLC, and to give you an indication of how popular this game was, it won 6 Game Awards, including Best Art Direction at the Game Awards 2018, Best Narrative Game at the Developers' Choice Awards, and 2 BAFTA equivalent awards, which are the British Academy Game Awards, BAGA, for artistic achievement and game design. It was also nominated 30 times for awards. This game was awesome, and it's coming to Switch. I'm really excited about it because it's one of the ones that I was like, wow. It didn't really hit on my radar at all, and then it was like, it's got awards. This game, it looks like. So if it's winning awards, it must be done something.
The Switch is gonna be my hub for indie stuff because they're really pulling over a lot of indie bits and bobs these days, and I'm totally here for it.
Next up, Rogue Company is a multiplayer military-style shooter from developer First Watch Games, coming in 2020. Monster hunting and adventure game Dauntless is coming. I don't have a date for that here in front of me. Deadly Premonition 2, A Blessing in Disguise, is coming in the new year, next year.
It's got quite a cult following, apparently, Deadly Premonition. Not played it personally, but people seem to really like it, so that's cool.
On that note, if you did want to play it, the original Deadly Premonition is available right now. It's one of those ones that they just poof, boom, there you go, have it right now. Next up, Star Wars Jedi Academy and Jedi Academy... Sorry, I'm fucked this up already. There's too many names in it. Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy and Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast are available from the 24th of September. So if you did miss out those games, you're nodding your head
really keen because every time people say these are the best ones, especially for lightsaber combat and whatnot, but I never got to play them, and now they're on a platform I can do it. I think they're also coming to PS4 as well as Switch. I think I saw somewhere.
Right, sounds good. Sounds good. Next up, Pete Hines from Bethesda made an appearance, and he announced that Doom 64 is coming to the Switch on November 22nd. So that's another classic.
Yeah, for sure.
First-person shooter game. Assassin's Creed: The Rebel Collection caught my eye as well. That's coming on December the 6th, and this includes one of the highly regarded as the best one, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and Assassin's Creed, is it Rogue?
Rogue, yeah.
Rogue, including all the DLCs in one collection, in one package called Assassin's Creed The Rebel Collection, again, December the 6th. That's probably a
Black
good...
Flag's a mate, just buying that on its own, it's so good. I've been thinking of rebuying it on PS4 or whatever, but if it's out on Switch, there's an extra option.
There you go. Devil May Cry 2 is coming September the 19th. You're not too hyped about that?
That was not as good.
Of the series?
That was not as good. It's the weakest one. But hey, Devil May Cry 2 on Switch now. I think it's one of the other ones I feel like came out recently on Switch. I might be lying there though. But Devil May Cry 5 is out on Game Pass, so Devil May Cry is having a bit of a resurgence this year. So
the biggest headline for me personally was Divinity Original Sin 2 Definitive Edition is available on the Switch right effing now, boys. Right effing now, and girls, if you look that way. But let's talk a little bit about Divinity Original Sin 2. Originally released in 2017, it got 93 on Metacritic. Highly regarded as the best RPG of all time made by Larian Studios, the ones who are making Baldur's Gate 3 now, right? They've got something special. There's something special in the water over there.
They've got a secret sauce.
It was PC Gamer, the outlets, Game of the Year 2017, and this year it made number one in the list of top 100 games. The PC Gamer top 100 games on PC is Divinity Original Sin 2. It wasn't there last year, but it's made it there this year because of the update, and they've kind of changed the third act to make it a little bit better. They've constantly been updating this game and making it better since it released, and now we're getting the definitive edition on the Switch, which is something I'm really excited for. It's available now. Unfortunately, I just don't have time in my schedule to play it now, right?
Like, it looks really good, but I'm trying really hard not to like look at stuff about it and get excited because I just don't have the time to commit to it.
We've got Gears.
Gears, which we'd started, just got through the tutorial, and then it needed to carry on installing, little bastard. Gears, then next month there's Call of Duty and The Outer Worlds and Medieval. All three of those are on the same day. Man of Medan, which came out a couple of weeks ago. Then November there's Doom, there's Death Stranding, there's Jedi Fallen Order. There's so many games coming up.
I got too many hobbies. That's my problem. Right, so to kind of round up the rest of the announcements, Farming Simulator 20 is coming on December the 3rd. Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch coming on September the 20th. NBA 2K20, if anyone wants that piece
Gambling
of
Simulator 2020.
It's coming on September the 6th. Call of Cthulhu, October the 8th. The Outer Worlds coming soon. I think we already knew that, but that's not kind of an update. Vampires coming October 29th. Highly recommend it.
Awesome.
Great fit for the Switch,
really
in
good.
my opinion. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition coming 2020. There was also some other stuff around Animal Crossing and Yoshi's Haunted Mansion and all that stuff. If you're interested, go and check out the Nintendo Direct. I'm not covering it here because it's personally not that interesting for me. But that was it. It was just so much stuff to Nintendo knocked it out of the park in general on the whole there.
They're so good at these directs because it's just games. It's simple. Here's all the games you need in the world.
Yeah, it sets the bar for like the Sony, who were doing this kind of stream announcements kind of thing more recently, but it's just nonsense compared to what Nintendo offer when they do them.
And so much of this,
I think they've got a way to go.
So much of this is just ports as well, but we get excited about ports.
It's the old classic games, and you could say they're cashing in on the old games, but if they're solid games and if they're beloved games from the past, and they're just adding,
and it's great for accessibility because you don't have to then go dig out an old SNES or an old, whatever. You can just get it on the Switch, assuming you've got one, obviously.
The nostalgia factor is completely there with this. I think it's, for that package we were talking about, the SNES Switch collection, it's just awesome. It's awesome for someone like me who grew up with a SNES in my house. Anyway, let's move on. That kind of finishes up the Nintendo section. That finishes up our discussions for today. Over an hour into the podcast, we're going to move on to the Patreon questions, after which we're going to read some YouTube comments from you, the community, and we'll see what you had to say on our videos. So let's take some Patreon questions then. These questions are put to us by our Patreon community, a community of people who support us bringing you this content on YouTube, who support us on patreon.com/prettygaming, without which these really are the MVPs of this whole channel, without which we just can't keep making content, so part of the reward of being a supporter, if you're interested, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. Part of the reward is you get to put questions to us and put us on the spot and make us squirm in our seats during these podcasts.
Well, so if your name is Metal Shark, you ask me technical questions and I don't know what's going on.
You always squirm when you read a Metal Shark question.
But before Metal Shark, who is undoubtedly somewhere in this list, and if you're not, I will be disappointed and I will be calling your mother. This is from Jeff B44. Is there a game based on a license you guys enjoyed as a kid and still like as an adult? For me, it would be Stuart Little 3 Big Photo Adventure, because it played like a kid's GTA. Stuart Little, okay.
I mean,
you do you, kid.
Yeah.
Kid's GTA, that sounds cool. Although, speaking on that note, I haven't played it for years, but Simpsons Hit and Run. Yeah. That was Kids GTA, and that was awesome. Give me an HD remake of that, and I'll be 100% there for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that that I still like as an adult. I don't know. That's the qualifying factor that kind of dismisses it, because I don't play all the old game. I'm old, if those of you who don't know. But yeah, I was around gaming in the late 80s, and the games now generally don't hold up as well. So I don't still like those games, but I guess
there's got to be a license as well. That's part of the crux of it. One I liked as a kid would be Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and that's back. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Yeah. There's a really good example of it, because I played it as a kid and I could play it now as an adult, and it's still good. Not as good, this particular one, but yeah, that's good. I suppose I was a kid when I started playing Gears. Probably shouldn't have, but that was my first Xbox 360 game, because I got Gears 1 and 2 with my Xbox. And it was the absolute tits. Totally loved it. And now just started playing Gears. The absolute tits.
Can you please explain?
Not just tits.
That expression.
Like the tits. Never, it's like if something's the tits.
Okay. As someone who is learning a new language, Italian now, there are some phrases that I might come across that I don't understand in a different language. So for those non-English speaking natives who don't know some certain phrases that you throw out, what is the absolute tits, Henry?
Well, the tits that's very good.
The tits is good. I mean, when you put it like that, obviously,
it's not weird. Like, now I think the dog's bollocks. The dog's bollocks is particularly strange, because that's not
absolute
really good.
Tits. So it's not even a form of the tits. It's the absolute form of the tits. It's the best tits.
Yeah, like imagine if tits were like a deity or something, some holy being emanating with light.
I'm on board. I can imagine that.
The tits, Gears of War.
It's the absolute tits. All right.
And Gears 5.
Now that's clarified. Thanks.
Who knows if it's going to be as good, but I am confident.
Okay.
So, so you can't think of anything?
Not off the top of my head, no. My problem is that
you don't go back to it.
My memory is so long. It's like it's so far in the past now. It's like I can hardly remember being in school, but there we go. Let's move on to the next question. Thanks for the question there, Mr. Jeff B44. Mr. Cloney is the next one, and he says, here's a question for the podcast. Gaz, Henry, how is your life as YouTubers? Do you have other jobs, like currently? Do you consider parenting a job? How, if you are comfortable to share this information, are your hours split? 4 hours editing per video, 1 hour filming, 2 hour reshoots, 3 hour calling agents from your next Avengers appearance? Do you ever have a day off early because a video went really well, or do you just pre-shoot other stuff when you're done for the day? Okay, the way it works right now is, how is your life as YouTube is it's difficult. It's not my first thing, but do you have any other jobs? Not currently, although if the AdSense keeps dropping, I might be looking. It might be in there. There was a job who come up with CD Projekt Red recently, like just playing their games with their controller on tour in their events, and I was like, "Fuck!" It was contractual,
but you've got to play with a controller and your mouse and keyboard.
Yeah,
so you'd have to deal with that fundamental barrier.
Like, I could maybe do that, because it's like one event. I just go to an event and play the game and talk about it.
It was a contract job.
I was like, that sounds interesting. But it's difficult. In terms of what are our hours, how are our hours split? I try to split my time between the gaming and the music. I've not been balancing that out as well as possible, as well as parenting. Is parenting a job? If you've got 2 kids, you'll know that there's a lot of hours that go into that. But generally, the morning for me is gaming, and the afternoon is music. On general, it's gaming for you all day, 9 to 5. So preparing for a video might be 2 to 3 hours. Filming half an hour, and then editing for you might be 4 to 5 hours, and then publishing.
It depends what kind of video it is. This will take an hour, because I don't have to chop things up. I just put media on and then fiddle with it a bit. The ones that takes the longest are to camera ones, like the news roundups, because there's lots of little news nuggets. But in some ways, they're the most fun, because I can look at lots of different things, and it's not like, all right, here's the same trailer chopped up and then spliced back together again. So it's like a few hours in the morning, like a little break for lunch, then edit through. And if I finish early, if I get it done early, I'll then go back and try and just make it funnier, make it prettier. But normally, if I am finished early, I'm just kind of knocking about until my bus arrives.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't show up until like 5:05. That's if it shows up at all.
So if we're doing a news roundup, it's the most laborious for me. I might finish at 2:30, 3 o'clock. Because I do the description and the thumbnail and there's a lot of work in that too. But I like to be finished earlier on in the day so I can devote some time to the other channel, which is the music channel. It's trying to balance things, and then if I'm finished early at midday, maybe go home and do some housework, the housework job, do the shopping and all that other stuff. My missus works for herself too, my wife, and she puts a lot of hard work in. So the house things are split. The house responsibilities are split. So there's a lot of commitments there for me too. So it's difficult balancing everything, especially when I don't know. It's just hard. People think that being a YouTuber is easy, right? But when you're trying to run it as a business and it's trying to be structured like the way we do it, it's harder to fit everything in. But yeah, thanks for your question there, Cloney. Hope that answers it for you.
Give you a bit of insight. Next up, Earthworm Ben. Gaz, do you think Epic denying indie devs onto their store if they don't sign an exclusivity deal as ethical or completely fair on Epic's part? And secondly, do you think that Epic should have developed universal features such as cloud saves, preloading, extended currency support, etc. by now, or should these features not define a launcher in 2019? So, first question: should Epic not allow devs on their store unless without exclusivity? Is that ethical, or is that just fine? And should Epic have all of the stuff that Steam has, all of its quality of life features, because that's the benchmark. That's like where we should be at by 2019.
Well, I think you're referencing that game that was denied Epic's store. I can't remember where it was recently. It's shows how good my memory is. But there was a game that it turned down the exclusivity thing, and because of that, the Epic Store said, we're not allowing you on our platform now, or we've not chosen you to be on the platform now. Yeah, it's a bit shady, isn't it?
I wouldn't call it unethical.
It's not,
but it's a bitchy thing to do, and it's mean to the indie devs. But I wouldn't call it unethical because there's nothing morally wrong with it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, it's still a bit of a dick move.
Business. It's business.
Yeah.
It's business.
It's like my way or the highway. Like, it's not riot, but they're
being dicks.
Yeah,
being dicks about it. It's like you're good enough. You're good enough for us if you sign exclusivity, but you're not good enough for us if you don't.
And we're such heroes because we'll change as soon as Steam change their policy. We promise.
And there's this game that came out and just decided, this game in question, which I can't fuck life for me to remember. Dark. Developer of Dark, the game, said, no, I'm not being Epic exclusive, and then they said, all right, you're not allowed on Epic games then. But he made a statement saying that he doesn't believe in this thing, and he got a lot of praise from the community for it, and in response a lot of people were supporting him from the communities, and he ended up saying that he's going to do free DLC because he's been supported so well, because he turned down the Epic exclusivity offer. So it just goes to show, like, people can vote with the wallets, and they're doing they're behind this dude because he's done that. What was the second part of the question? Do you think Epic should have developed universal features as cloud?
Should we expect features like that by now?
Well, yeah, of course. We expect that. That's the industry standard. The fact that they've not, obviously, it's a topic of debate for a lot of people. It's easy to criticize them when they've not fulfilled their promises, with the roadmaps getting delayed or whatever, and they're coming up with these features which are industry standard by now. By like Steam's got them, and the fact that they're not there is one of the biggest criticisms that you can have.
If they did have them, it would solve so many of the arguments in the Steam versus Epic debates. Like, Steam's got all this, what does Epic have? None of this, and security risks or whatever. But if they solve that, it's going to be a easier argument to vote for them. But
yeah. I mean, Epic aren't perfect, obviously not. I like the fact that they're there trying to make a competition with Steam to try and, they're trying to do the right thing by offering 88% revenue share with the developers and publishers. That at least that's the tagline. That's what they say. That's the way they're trying to sell this whole exclusivity thing. developers make more money off each sale on our platform. The fact that they're competing now with Steam for a foothold in the market, I like that. It doesn't mean that I like them. It doesn't mean that I like everything that they do, or I'm not going to condone the way that they're behaving sometimes. But there's nuances to this. To this thing. So in general, hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Earthworm Ben. Now, next up, Rudy Manchego. Sirs, today I listened to your podcast and I must protest. How dare you? Firstly, my wife does exist.
Sounds like bullshit.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's true. If she didn't, I wouldn't be able to spend more time. If she didn't, I would be able to spend more time gaming and life would be better.
So what you're saying is your life would be better
obviously,
if your wife didn't exist.
Obviously, my wife exists because my life's shit.
That's totally it.
I know, I totally understand. Yeah, I agree. Secondly, it was not me playing half naked in the room with the lights on. I only do this when masturbating. Well, that's a little bit TMI.
Only half naked? I assume bottom half naked and you've still got a t-shirt on. Get that off.
Obviously, this is clearly slander, and I will contact my lawyers. I'm also up for the land party, please. Thanks for that. Wasn't actually a question. That was just a rebuttal of our accusation that it was him being naked in the.
And thanks for the heads up that the lawyers are coming. We'll set up the traps accordingly.
There we go.
Okay, next question from Not That Rob Lowe. I have a new weekly question for you, gents, if you wish to partake. Awesome. I love a good weekly one. I would like to know what your favourite game through your ages were, starting with the year of your birth. The only stipulation is that you must have played it at some point in your life. Mine, for example, would be 1979's classic Asteroids. Oh, awesome. Not only because it was half decent for its time, there wasn't much competition either. Next week, your favourite game from the year you were a mighty 1-year-old. Okay, so this year, first year of our birth. Next time.
Great question, Rob. And remember to remind us, because we will forget this, right?
And it's going to take some Googling.
It's a lot of information we try to stuff in our faces every day, every week, right? And this is one of the ones that I want to hold there. You know what my memory is like. So, yeah. So, first up, I was born in 1980. Seems like a long time ago, because it was a long time ago. And the game that I found that I played in... obviously not in 1980, because I'd have been a highly gifted baby if that was the case. But I did play a game from the 1980 was Missile Command. It's where you've got a little base. I played it recently too. I don't remember what it was. You've got a little base on the floor, and it's like just black and white. You've got these missiles coming down, and you've got a certain amount of missiles coming down.
Yeah.
And then, oh God, that was great.
Yeah. Mine, I Googled it. I was like, I have no idea what games came out when I was born, which was the ripe old year of 1995, a whole 15 years.
That was not long ago.
After you.
A couple of years ago.
So I gave it a Google. First one, so there's two, which I can't decide on, but I'll get to it by the end. First one, Rayman 1. And I was like, damn, that game can piss off, because it was hard at times, but it was great. I love the visuals of it as well. And then Worms.
The
classic. Original Worms. I think Worms takes it for me.
Has to be a classic.
For being more fun.
Yeah.
Worms was awesome, and it's still fun to this day.
So it'll be 15 weeks until I get to 95, and then in 15 weeks' time you'll be on 2010, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking ahead.
You're going to have more answers than me, because obviously you're 15 years old. So you have
15 weeks' time I'm going to be where you are with your. But there we go. Thanks for the question, Rob. That was a peach. I love it.
Yeah, good one.
I love it. So next week, stay tuned if you want to see what my game of 1981 was. I know you're all highly anticipating it.
Oh, here we go. There's the next question from Metal Shark.
Metal Shark himself, the MVP himself.
Okay. Now you're back, refreshed and detoxed from the media outrage.
That's true.
We jumped straight back into it. How do you feel about the fans politely requesting re-releases? A good example would be Driver San Francisco. Do you think a petition is taking things too far down the toxic gamer entitlement path, or a good way to demonstrate interest to developers or publishers? How should fans provide such feedback if a petition is viewed as wrong?
I think it all depends on the wording of the petition.
Yeah.
I think if it's done in good humour and it's done in a friendly way, it's not demanding and it's not toxic. It's not entitled at all. And reading this petition from the undersigned, humbly request that Ubisoft I mean, that's the type of way you want to approach it. We humbly request, please do this for us. We're big fans. It's that type of, don't be a dick in life. You can be respectful to other people and don't demand stuff.
Yeah,
I don't see this as
a list
demanding.
of ransom demands. Like, give us Driver San Francisco, or we'll. Yeah,
it's unacceptable that you haven't remastered this game. That type of, it's like, come on, don't be a dick.
Yeah, they're asking. If you're asking and not demanding, I think it's good. And
I don't think the petition's wrong. A petition is just like seen as
actually mean anything.
Yeah, it's like you could say, you could clickbait that into a news headline where it's like, fans petition Ubisoft to remake, and you could see the news trying to create controversy out of that. But when you read the petition, it says, we humbly request. There's no controversy there. Yeah. They just want something, and they're just expressing that. It's an expression of a desire. It's not a demand at all.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for developers or publishers or anything, but I reckon if people, the people behind Driver San Francisco saw that, they'd be like, oh, that's nice. People are still game for it. They're really keen on it.
Yeah, there you go.
So I think that's
Nick
nice.
Robertson is the guy who made the petition, I believe, and he's a YouTuber who made a video about it too. I haven't watched the video, but the wording of the petition, it sounds very reasonable to me, and I would say that he's quite a decent guy, quite a level-headed. But that's just my assumption of who he would be. So yeah, those is our thoughts. Thank you, Mr. Metal Shark. Next up, Two Shot Tino. Do you think EA are giving the games away at 70% off because they know they'll rinse every last fucking penny out of you once you play their games through micro surprises?
Yes.
Well, this is interesting, right? So this is there's 70% off on EA games now on the PS Store. From my Googling, I'm not sure if there's any on other stores, but you've got Battlefield 4, Battlefield 5, Battlefield 1, Dragon Age Inquisition, Bruce Lee, EA UFC 3, Mass Effect Andromeda, Need for Speed Payback, and all the other Need for Speeds 2, Star Wars, Sims 4, loads of them, right? I'm not sure how much of them are all 75% off, but there's a lot of sales going on now. And this is why EA's reputation is one of the worst things, right? Because it leads you to ask questions like this. And for my money, couldn't it just be a regular sale, just like anybody else?
Yeah,
it could be. It could be them just having people. Ubisoft have sales all the time, right? All right, they have monetization, almost as bad as EA, you could say. But people have sales all the time. It's not unusual, that, right? The fact that EA are doing it makes you think, oh, they're trying to rinse us by giving us these games for cheap so they can make extra money. And that's the problem with having a reputation like EA have. They are the bad guys in the industry, and you wouldn't put it past, you jump into that. I think it's funny. I think it's really funny that you attribute that to EA straight away, whereas in real life it could be just them saying, no, let's do a sale.
Yeah. We'll be nice. We'll show some good faith. No, that's definitely for
the fact is that if they're offering 70% off a game, it kind of undervalues their game, and it's a bit dubious saying things like that when The Witcher 3 is constantly on say a heavy discount like that. But
they don't. When
they've got yearly iterations like FIFA 19, I think is one of the games of games like that, and they've got 70% off on those games. I don't know. It
smells a bit too fishy for my liking.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to be cynical when it comes to EA. That's for sure. Thanks for your question, Mr. Two Shot Tino.
All right, next up from Tons. So, the Joker movie is getting raving reviews, and it got me thinking, what iconic antagonist should have his own game? Could be from movies or games. I think Far Cry 4's Pagan Min's rise to power could be a cool concept for a video game, I think.
I've got a good answer.
That's a good one, but I'd do it with the guy from the other one, 3. Voss? Yeah. I used a clip of him the other day. Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity? That guy. I'd love to see him just being bananas.
Yeah, that's a good answer. For what iconic antagonist, the worst antagonist, or the most iconic antagonist I can think of, the one that got me hating him the most was Joffrey from Game of Thrones. I swear to God, that little shit was so infuriating. It would be great to be a Joffrey, right? Yeah. Don't you think?
Well, I feel like games like The Sims basically are you being Joffrey, because no one does nice things. You lock them in the swimming pool, you take away the ladder. Like, They're already there as God games.
He was the ultimate entitled little prick, right? Yeah. So it's like entitled gamer simulator. Beech Horn, brilliant. That would be my choice. That's for sure. The kind of
there's so many potentials. I can't even focus on one. I'd quite like. So if Konami were going to carry on and do Metal Gear, I'd love, because obviously without Kojima, I'd love to do something with Ocelot as the focus, because I reckon you could do some really interesting shooting mechanics, because he's all about trick shots and spinning the revolvers and stuff. I think a Revolver Ocelot game would be awesome.
There you go. Thanks for your question, Mr. Tons. Sabu is next. Tell us a ordinary, memorable life/gaming moment when gaming and life got together to create a moment that you didn't forget for some reason. It doesn't need to be extraordinary, just memorable for you. For this part, just an example. For me, was the time I built my first PC. I got the video card as a gift from my friend and built it on a Saturday night, spent the evening drinking soda and having my mind blown by Portal. It was a simple moment, but I never forget it. Thanks for your question, Mr. Sabu. Do you have one?
Again, there's going to be plenty to choose from. First couple that pop into my head, I remember playing, I think it was Halo, might have been 3, but it might have been Reach, one of them. I think it was in Forge mode. Yeah. So pulled an all-nighter with my mates, and we were just messing about on Halo, not really doing anything in particular. And then I decided, I want to make like a gladiator-style Colosseum. Not necessarily literally, but like a Hunger Games where all the weapons are in one place. Spent all night just building it, and they both just fell asleep while we were playing. Like I was flying around as what's the orb? Is it Oracle? I can't remember. Spark. Seeing their characters just standing still while they're asleep on the sofa, and just building this Hunger Games-esque thing. I don't think I ever played that map though, because it was badly designed. Like logically and technically, it was just a room with a shit ton of guns in it. But I tried to make the room look pretty, and I put like gun turrets everywhere so you could camp and shoot the door. So that was cool.
The one that sticks to mind for me is I think I was at the ripe age of, let's have a look when this game was. What am I doing here? Ripe age of 21, 22 years old, when I just got my first full-time job working in a factory, because that's what you do if you live in Rhyl. You have to work somewhere. And my first paycheck, I was like, right, I'm going to get myself a PC. I'm going to buy myself a PC to play games on, and that's what I did. I was like, I don't have any games. Walked into Curry's in Rhyl, by where Sainsbury's is now. Yeah. And I was like, what games am I going to get? This looks all right. What is it? Medieval Total War. When the original, this is like the second, I think the original was a Shogun, but Medieval Total War was the second Creative Assembly Total War game. And I was like, this looks all right. Read the box, yeah. Took it home. Oh my God, was that game amazing. Amazing, right? Very first PC game that I bought with my own money. And it's just having that life, right, where you've got no responsibilities, living at home with my mum, my own, I've got loads of spare time. I've got, money to burn, and I've got time to kill. Sitting there playing Medieval Total War till the early hours, and loving every minute of it. It turned out, one of my favorite games and one of my favorite game series ever since. And it's just that, that just chance occurrence of me just like, this game looks all right. Yeah. It's like that's one of my gaming memories from the ages that it was like 20. No, it wasn't 20 years ago. It was 15, 16, 17, 7 years ago. But yeah, I always remember that. Remember that game because life was sweet back then with no responsibilities.
Certainly no microtransactions.
Yes, exactly. Thanks for the question, Mr. Sabu.
Okay. Oh, another one from Earthworm Ben. Do you think CDPR are starting to get worried about the hype and expectations surrounding their game? Hence why last playthrough was told it was once done. Hence why last playthrough was told it was done a 2080 Ti at 1080p. Anything they could have done to help temper the fans a bit? Oh, I think you mean about what? I'm not entirely. Well, I do think they are probably trying to manage the hype. I don't think they're necessarily worried about it, but they're trying to stay ahead of it.
Yeah, I think it would. It just fits their profile with CDPR being, just understanding how communities can react in bad ways about things. It would not surprise me in the slightest that they're starting. That they're trying to manage the hype. Getting worried is a bit strong, I'd say, but they're definitely managing hype, and I think it would be. They'd be wrong not to, because they've got something very special in Cyberpunk 2077. It's one of the highest expected games upcoming, and what they don't want to do is, I don't know, the gaming scene is so hypersensitive, hyper scrutinizing these days, that any little half a step wrong can be blown up into something huge. So the people just have to be careful these days in that sense.
It's as much our responsibility as consumers as it is theirs to keep yourself in check and not get ourselves overhyped unrealistically and setting unrealistic expectations.
That's true. We all have personal responsibility in that sense. Thanks for your question, Earthwind Band. Jason Jackson, if aliens had gaming machines, what do you think they would play? What do you think they would play if they had gaming machines?
Something that plugs into their alien dick and just gives them pleasure, because they're aliens, right? And all animals are driven by basic desires. One of them is to eat, and one of them is to shag things. And I don't think eating your game is going to be quite as fun. So I think if they put their dick in the game machine,
my God,
every kill they get in the first-person shooter or whatever, first alien shooter, it gives them a little tickle.
Interesting theory, Henry. My theory would be a little bit different.
Boring.
Okay, so these aliens, right? They are adventurers. They're coming to our world. Like they're highly. We know about them for sure. Is that they're highly technologically advanced, right? So they're tech addicts, right? Because they've managed to get to Earth. Secondly, they're adventurers, right? They're going out to the unknown and they're coming to a new world, which is the planet Earth. So we know that they're big on high tech and they're big adventure. So it have to be an adventure game, right? Yeah. And it have to be a sci-fi game, right?
No, I think doing something.
Come on, Henry.
No, because
put your dick away.
Their life is sci-fi, right? They're living science fiction.
But that's what's fun for them.
No, but it's boring. It's just we're playing a game where we just live our regular life. I think they'd play something.
Mass Effect.
Yeah, because they live Mass Effect. They're aliens. I think if they played something like historical, like what's the new one? The early man one. Ancestors.
Yeah,
play something like Ancestors. Even though the reviews are a bit mixed at the moment, play something totally different to their higher being, their higher state of intelligence. Playing something like that, though, they can't even comprehend it.
As much as I disagree with that answer, it's better than the dick answer. So
no, dick. They're going to stick the dick in, and whatever happens that's good in the game, they're going to get a little buzz on the tail end.
I hate to see what your gaming setup looks like. Anyway, moving on to the final question of the week, Mr. Gabaris.
Oh, this is the really long one.
Do you want me to read this?
You can if you like.
Okay, then. You had a little rest, so here I am again. Roll up your sleeves. We like to make fun of little old Gabaris over, eh? Right? Cracks the knuckles. You got too many games. You don't use commas, right? Hold my beer motion, right? That was just the opening parlay, right?
The opening gambit.
Bottle of cider shatters on the floor. Right, I shouldn't do these when I'm all alone. Anyways, TLDR at the end. So that was the second introduction. This is the actual pre-question thing. Ready for it? Since I was an itty-bitty boy, I loved games, but I had no money to my names.
Oh, no.
What is an itty-bitty boy to do in that case? Well, roll your R's and raise the stakes. You are actually reading this. Like, it's the ongoing commentary now. Like, the commentary begins. You're actually reading this? For many years, I have plundered the gaming seas. You absolute madman. You're still reading this. See, there's an internal narrative going on here too. I have run out of HOIDDs to keep my booty many, many times around. For the love of just stop. This is a joke for those who take the effort. And carries on. But never actually got to enjoy most of them. Like a seafaring dragon, I sat atop of my pile of riches. And then again, internal narrative. Okay, kudos to you and a tip of my hat for your professionalism. This was just meant as a goodbye joke, as I probably won't have any more time to make my usual setups in future. After many, many years, I've turned a new leaf and returned to much of my riches to the people of Steam, but just ended up with another pile to sit on, for it is the never-ending desire within me. And then he gets the TLDR. So basically, he used to get a lot of games from piracy, whatever. I always loved collecting stuff. It's not a crippling disorder, but it's still hard to say no. So I've amassed a lot of games from illicit sources as a kid, but Billy ended playing any of them. It's the same question now with Steam as well. So my question is, and now this is finally his question, if I'll just turn the camera on again because that turned off halfway through. Do you think that stealing/pirating a game should still be a frowned upon thing, even if the pirate never actually ends up playing it? This isn't a question of I don't get it if you won't play it right away, because it's more of a I must for I cannot stop. So don't try and cheat out on me with stuff like that again. Smiley face. P.S. In case you got the joke and skipped my long description, then please give it a read to have time later. Thanks for that awesome rhyme. Like you spit the rhymes
poem
there
thing going on.
Boris. But yeah, question actually is it stealing or pirating? Is it still bad if you never play the games? If you steal stuff, if you steal a car but never drive it, is it still bad? I
robbed the bank but I never spent the money.
Yeah, exactly. I saved it. I saved the money.
Well, I think the bank example is perhaps not as good because you're taking it away from someone else. Or that's access to it, which no one else can get. It's a bit more harmless doing piracy because you're not taking it. You're taking away it's Schrodinger's game because
does it exist or doesn't it?
Have you stolen from them if you don't play it?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't really like piracy, but if you're not playing it, is it really doing any actual harm? But it is still building, if you want to call it an industry, the marketplace, the pirate marketplace. It's perpetuating that and maintaining that, which that's bad. I don't like that because that is harmful to creators.
Well, let me share with you a little anecdote here. Right, when I was a kid, we used to have a Commodore Amiga, right, 500, and then we upgraded it to a 1 meg at Christmas when my dad bought me that little card slot to put on the bottom, and it was like 1 meg. Woo! Anyway, we didn't have a lot of money for games, so my mum knew a guy who did an extension on the house for us. He was like a builder, but he also worked as a this is not relevant to the story, but he was a firefighter. And he had a huge collection of copied Amiga games, right? Like he had this big tray with like a perspex top where you'd flip open and it was like 3 rows of all these little floppy disks. And we used to go over to his house and ask him to copy, because it was easy to copy games back then. He just like stick it in and copy it into another external drive. And so we used to go over and just copy his games. And that was piracy, right? But as kids, we don't know better because it's like we need games. Like
totally.
we're like 12, 13 years old playing on the Commodore Amiga. You need games. So I get from that point of view, we would never bought the games anyway, but I just thought I'd share that little when I was a pirate back when I was like 12 or 13 years old.
A wee pirate. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna get up on my high horse and say I've never done anything piratey ever before. We had a chipped PS1 and there's one game, like illegal pirate game we played, and it was called Thrill Kill. It's like an arena brawler, like 4-player free-for-all type thing. And they're all weird horror movie-esque characters, very violent, very graphic, and for some reason, I don't know why, but they weren't allowed to sell it in the UK because it was so violent or something. It was unrated. That game was really good, and I definitely probably shouldn't have been playing it at that time, but it was really good, and that was piracy. And but if I could get it, which I might have to look into, I would buy that now because it was brilliant. I remember there was one guy who was my favourite, the only one I really remember. He didn't fight with his fists because he didn't have any arms. Well, they're different skins as well. So sometimes he had his arms like handcuffed behind him, or sometimes he just didn't have any arms, and he headbutted people. That was his weapon of attack.
Sweet.
It was a headbutt.
Sweet. But there you go. Is it still frowned upon? I don't know. I mean,
it should still be frowned upon. It should always be frowned upon.
You should always frown at people. It's just like, But don't throw them in jail. Just fill your eye, your forehead, right?
And maybe tut.
It's a bit strong, that, Henry. Come on, don't be so judgmental. Okay, thanks for your questions, everybody, this week. If you want to add questions to our podcast for next week, head over to head over to the Discord channel, that says Ask Gaz Something, which I still haven't changed to Ask the Podcast, and leave them there, and everything that's been posted there between now and next time we film or record, we will ask or read out in the podcast. So thank you, everybody, and also thanks everyone for being supporters on Patreon, because without you we wouldn't be here. Fact. Next up, we're going to move into the YouTube comments, and everybody's favourite segment of the week is the Triggered Fanboy Comment of the Week. This needs a little bit of a setup, like all the best Triggered Fanboy comments do. During the CD Projekt Red video we posted this week, I said, talking about them scaling down the gameplay that they were showing, it's kind of like driving a Ferrari. I was comparing to, overselling the game. Driving a Ferrari and then getting in it, buying a Ferrari and then getting in it, it drives like a Skoda, right? That was the setup, right? And this guy, Mr. Andre Hager, he is the Triggered Fanboy Comment of the Week, and he says, "Why are you bashing Skoda, you little lint sniffer?"
A lint.
Your little lint sniffer.
Like the little balls of fluff you get in your pockets or whatever.
I sniff lint?
You're a lint sniffer. Why are you bashing Skoda?
It was a big smiley face after that, and obviously we didn't trigger enough people this week. We didn't have any decent contenders, so Andre Hoga by default, calling me a lint sniffer, gets the title of Triggered Fanboy Comment of the Week. Beautiful, that
was quite funny.
Appreciate that. And on the same note, don't diss the Skoda. I just bought one and it's brilliant, says Sonia Cower. And I commented in reply, it doesn't drive like a Ferrari, does it? So there you go.
I really wanted... So I think I put a clip in of like a test car getting smashed up, a test Skoda with like crash test dummies in it. But I really wanted a high quality one of, like Russian dash cams, because they're full of them. There's always terrible accidents happening there because they're all on show. They all happen in the rest of the world, but you just don't see them as much. But none of them were good enough quality, or they were a bit too mean. Like, that person's definitely actually hurt themselves. I don't want to show that.
Well, the reason I used Skoda was because Skoda is synonymous back in the day with just poor quality cars. And I remember a joke from when I was a kid that goes something along the lines of, what do you call a Skoda with a sunroof?
What?
A Skip. See, that's the kind of joke, that's the kind of reputation that Skodas used to have. And obviously
my mum used to have one. It's the first car I really remember that my mum had.
Yeah, so there you go. That says it all.
It was shit. Well, I mean, I don't know what it was like. I was a kid. I didn't know what it was.
There you go. They may be a lot different now, but that's just how I. It's just a justification for me calling it shit. But there you go. It's just not as good as a Ferrari. That's you just can't argue that fact. So yeah, there you go. That's the question. Do you have another comment?
I did, but I've just lost it. Here we go. This is it's an older video now. We did it before we disappeared, and it was about Apex Legends having a go at their fans because the fans were having a go at them, and it was a self-devouring snake of people hating. So this is from the Mega 1000. The Mega 1
Ouroboros.
Yeah, that's the Northern Lights. Ouroboros. That's the
self-devouring snake.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I want to say. So this is from the Mega 1000. And all caps. Just boycott every game which has EA's logo on it. How hard is that to understand? No punctuation apart from the 3 question marks, but he did get the correct apostrophe. I feel like
that's important.
I feel like he grabbed his screen. I'm not against this comment really, boycotting the EA's games. If you're going to boycott anyone, fair shout, just grabbing the screen, just, why aren't you listening to me?
Well, 137 people upvoted his comment and are listening to him, obviously.
Evidently.
But I can guarantee...
No doubt in the replies there's going to be like an except for Jedi Fallen Order or something. But
except for this game that I like.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I've got a pretty long one here. Guy with a knife. And it's,
oh dear.
Yeah, guy with the knife, so I mustn't piss him off, but apparently I have. No, it's a quite... he disagrees with me on something, but he's quite eloquent with it. I usually agree with you guys, but today there are a few things I do not. Not all of us can afford to keep computer hardware in tip-top upgraded shape, and buying into a console generation is financially much easier. We're talking about... I think it was the Cyberpunk video again. We're talking about, not being able to purchase a high-end PC versus actually just buying one console per generation. I don't expect the latest and greatest graphics on an old console. Of course, was the Control one, maybe. We were talking about that. Of course, but I do expect that if a company advertises support for and releases on a console, that it actually runs okay. If that means the graphics are scaled back, that's fine. Ideally, it would give an option between graphics and performance mode, but just having lower detail shadow lighting models, textures, particles would be fine too. They chose to release it on these platforms. There's no excuse for providing a game with such frame drops and a broken map. That's not a we're only human situation, it's a money grab. They could have chosen to delay it on those consoles, for example. I'm going to stop there. I don't disagree with that at all. I completely agree with that. They could have scaled it all back, right? And they could have made it better. They could have taken more time to release it. But there comes a point where I'm seeing it from their side of their point of view. Like, it comes to a point where they've just put so much development into it, and these games are so complicated to make these days that they have to draw a line somewhere, right? They have to draw a line in the sand and say, right, this is how much time we've got. Otherwise, we exceed our budgets, we go over, whatever, and we can't delay it any further. There are a lot of restrictions when it comes to making games, and I don't hold it against them for doing that. Calling it a cash grab would, personally for me, would be undermining the struggle of making a game in the first place, right? Yeah. I don't see this as a cash grab. A cash grab is something that purposely goes out of the way to try and fool you, to try and get money off you by nefarious means or whatever. Calling this a cash grab is just not understanding the struggles and like the restrictions of creating games.
Especially as there's so many easier ways to grab cash than making a full-scale single-player only game.
And you're totally entitled to think that's a cash grab. I'm not saying that you're wrong for that. And I do agree with you that they could have just scaled stuff back and made it run better. Anyway, it carries on. Besides, there have been many games that run perfectly fine on stock PS4 and yet look gorgeous. The Witcher 3, any From Software game, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Detroit, to name a few. Sure, but they don't look as good on a high-end PC. But that's to be expected from much cheaper, older hardware.
Witcher 3 only runs that well because they updated it.
Yeah, that's true.
It ran like trash when it first came out.
Detroit isn't a game.
They reworked the UI.
Detroit is a different type of game. It's not like an action game. It's like a narrative. It doesn't have a lot of things going on. It looks beautiful. It's stunningly, but there's not so much going on the screen at the same time. It's not an action game where you've got like lots of different moving parts on the screen at one time. It doesn't take that much processing power. So, there's a couple of things there. Horizon Zero Dawn, it does look great. God of War, again, it does look good, but I don't know. I haven't never played on a stock PS4, to be honest.
I don't remember ever having any problems with it.
No, I'm sure it runs great. But God of War, it's a great example. That's good. Yeah. They still look great and still perform great. Also, regarding Game of the Year, I disagree. Even he said himself that something else may surprise him. I've called Game of the Year games in February and March, and in the past, when years end came, I was still happy with my choices. Sure, something better sometimes comes along, but sometimes a game really is that good to you that's unlikely to be topped. That doesn't make this guy a bad journalist. It just means he liked the game that much. Again, I kind of agree, but also at the same time, what I look for in journalists is objectivity. And if you've already made your mind up that all the games aren't going to live up to the game you're playing now, if you already decided that, then you're not going into the future games objectively. You've already made a decision, and it's not, I don't know, you're not separating yourself from your subject enough for me.
Yeah.
And that's what my point of contention with that one was, because to be a good journalist, you have to be objective to a much to capacity, as much as you can, because it's really hard to maintain objectivity all the time. But to say that this is my game of the year, unless I get completely surprised, it's a little bit. He's just accepted too much there. He's just I don't know. It's not.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
That was my. I mean, I completely understand if you play a game that's awesome and you do it so much that you cannot see any game topping it. I can get that, but this guy's a journalist, right? He's supposed to be objective. That was my.
I quite like this comment because he's quite.
No, that's why I'm reading it out, because I respect it.
He's not. He obviously disagrees, and fairly firmly from his tone, but it's not aggressive, and it's certainly not like toxic or anything.
This is the way you disagree. This is this discussion. This is what this is, right?
Especially as it's so long. It means he's actually considered what he's done. It's not just word vomit.
Credit to the guy with the knife.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a great reply, buddy. Sorry.
Yeah, we agree with you. Please put the knife down. Thanks for your comment, dude. You have another one waiting.
We've got one here from Gary McKinnon, and this is on our Gamescom video, which again was from before the break. In quotes, let us know down in the comments. Why? So, but you have just commented. So you fulfilled the purpose of us saying things like "let us know down in the comments," which is it's a call to action, is because it asks you to do something, which drives up video engagement, which then feeds the algorithm beast, and then gets sent to more people, and then ideally they will then comment their opinions. So you've just done it.
Yeah, he's done it, but he doesn't know why. He doesn't understand that commenting helps us out, right? It helps out the algorithm, helps out the discovery of the video, and it makes you more likely to be served one of our videos in future.
Which is a little strange, considering he's got about 6,300 subscribers.
And maybe that's why he's only got 6.3. So.
Maybe because he's not
doesn't know
asking for engagement.
Because it helps us out. That's why. Well, that's why we try to engage the people. This is a simple answer for a simple question. Fred the Waterboy is next. He says, "It was nice to meet you. Apologies for staring at the airport." Now this.
You mentioned this.
Right, I was getting off the plane. It was 2:30 a.m. At Manchester Airport, and I was walking past security just into the baggage claim, down the stairs, and I turned back, and some guy was looking at me, right? And he was looking me dead in the eye, and he kind of acknowledged, like, smiled at me, and I'm like, do I know that guy? It was kind of one of the moments where you're like, he kind of looks familiar, I'm not sure who he is. So I was like, no, I don't know who he is. And then it twigged, I'm on fucking YouTube, maybe he recognizes me. And I was like, right, this is a weird situation. I don't know him, but he knows me probably. So I can't really say hello to him because I can't assume that he knows me. So I've got to break eye contact and go about my business, right? Because I can't walk up to him and say, "Oh, you recognise me from YouTube."
Especially at an airport. Like, it's not like you're bumping into him on the street.
That would be so cringy if he was like, "No, sorry, I was looking at someone behind you," or "No, I thought you were somewhere else."
You've got a bit of food in your teeth.
My only option at that point was, I kind of knew what was going on, but my only option at that point was like, I have to look away and not acknowledge him the way he thinks. I don't know. It's like
then you run the risk of coming across like a dick.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do, so it was like, yeah, I think he kind of recognises me, but I can't really. He's got to come up to me and say, "Oh, are you guys from YouTube or whatever, from Pretty Good Gaming?" So I left it, but then he did come up to me while I was pulling my bags off. "Are you from Pretty Good Gaming?" And I was like, "Oh, how you doing?" There's no need to apologise for staring, dude, because I really appreciate when people are brave enough to come and say hello if they do recognise me, because it's like a perk of the job, really, where my wife had clocked him, right, and I'd walked down the stairs into the baggage reclaim with my passports in my hand, and my wife clocked him staring at me, apparently. And my wife she turned to me and she said, "Put them passports away," because she thought for some reason that he was going to steal the passports that were in my hand. She's getting this like like someone's going to get away with like grabbing someone's passports and running past running out of the airport with. He was like a young chap, so he didn't look like in the first guy. He just got off a plane, so he's not the kind of guy to be. Anyway, it was a bit of a weird thing, but yeah, nice to meet you, Fred. And if you're watching this, kudos to you for actually being brave enough to say hello, because most people don't. Most people just stare weirdly. You stared weirdly and then said hello. So
people are busy staring at me weirdly anyway, even just in general. Because I look a bit odd.
Yeah, that's fair.
Although. Got another comment here, and this is on our video about what's the game? The basketball one, NBA 2K. And I said that I almost respect 2K games for putting in such cancerous and egregious monetization.
You'd trigger somebody.
Yeah. Well, this guy's like fake triggered, so it's funny. Right. From Sergio Colauti. Yeah, I'm going to say that, Colauti. How dare you, Henry, to almost respect those guys? You are disgracing your family name. Now, seriously, missed you guys. Keep it up. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Flattering comment but I have disgraced my family. Like, he doesn't say, "Oh, joking, lol." That is the case. I have disrespected my family, but
there's no other option but seppuku. Right.
Have you got any more?
I've got a couple more, but I'm not sure where to read them because they're a bit negative compared to what we've just read out.
Well, grab a positive one if you want. Counter debate. Good to see you back on a daily, and that was on the performance problems in Control, our gameplay video.
Yeah, it's nice to be back.
Yeah.
It's good to feel like we're still here and people haven't forgotten about us. I do have one last comment from me. Dr. Barbarian comments, the Cyberpunk 2077 Facebook group is a cesspool of picky, entitled, negative Nancy's. So, yes, there are definitely people out there who give too much of a shit about this kind of thing. Talking about the gameplay footage that was shown. And they can't wait to tell you all about it. Now, your problem there, Mr. Dr. Barbarian, is that you're on Facebook. Let's be honest. You're on Facebook. Get off Facebook.
He is right, though.
It's for aunties and uncles and your grandmother now these days, and your mother. That's what Facebook's for. It's not for us. It's not for us. Let's go to Twitter, where everyone's just like...
Arguably worse.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone is just like
it's all
toxic and entitled.
Shit, innit?
Yeah, I know. I was a bit of a joke there, but...
Yeah.
I mean, you know...
I love the expression negative Nancy. I always have. Because...
Kind of undermining them with a kind of childish name.
Because it's Nancy.
Negative Nancy.
It sounds like a petty school, like playground insult.
Yeah.
But I know. Right, I did have another one, but I think I've just lost it. I can't find it.
No pressure now. No, is it gone?
Oh, well, forget about it.
So, thank you everybody for joining us on this voyage. That was podcast number 30. I hope you've enjoyed us being back this week, and I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Stay tuned, hit subscribe if you sat through this whole thing, you're not subscribing, you've not hit the bell, you don't want to, be notified of. Surely you should be subscribing and being notified of our content by now. If you sat through this whole thing, if you're that committed, then please do that, because it does really help us out. And consider heading over to patreon.com/prettygogaming if you want to help us out in another way too, monetarily, because you get early access to this podcast, as well as access to the Discord, where you can join in with the community, ask us questions, and we've got all sorts of fun and games going on in the Discord, play with other people and stuff like that. There's a lot of cool people and things happening there. And I guess that's it then. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again in the next video. I think by the time you watch this, if you're watching in public, we would have done our impressions of Gears 5 video. So if you missed that too, check that out. And we will see you again in next week's content, or the next time we meet. So on behalf of Mr. Henry, I did nothing all summer Cooper. Is that what I called you?
Something like that.
and myself. We will see you again next time. Until then, bye for now.